Hey guys, this is Mr. Swinger again coming at you with another lesson. So today we're going to talk about domain and range. So let's talk about this a little bit. Let's break down domain, let's break down range into some basic pieces. Domain, when you talk about domain, what I think of is, my words are to myself, what could X be, or what is X in this function or this relation? Okay, so basically domain deals with all the X values. So what are the X values in this function, we'll say, though not everything's a function, but what are the X values in this particular function or relation? All right. Number two, range, obviously the opposite of that, it deals with all the Y values. So what are all the Y values in this particular function? So in this function, okay, or relation. Now, and you can look at the domain in, you can look at it as coordinates. You have, just make up some coordinates, 1, 2, 3, 4, so on, so on. Just dealing with those two, I would say, oh, the domain is, well, that's all the X values in the function. So all the X values, well, I know that's an X, I know that's a Y, an X and a Y. Well, all the X values, so your domain will be, right, 1 is part of your X values, and 3 is part of your X values. So 1 and 3 are my domain. And that's it. That's all you would write down. Let's go to range real quick with this same thing. And the range, and get a different color pen here. And the range will be all the Y values of this function. So look at the Y's. So right here you see 1. Right here you see 1. So the range of this function down here, so R for range, is, well, I got a 2 in my Y values and I got a 4. My Y values, and that's all you would write down. You'd write down my range is 2 and 4, right? So that's dealing with coordinates. If I just gave you a bunch of coordinates or a few coordinates, okay? Now you could also look at a graph, because on a graph you'll see coordinates. You could put this coordinate and this coordinate, right? And they say, oh, okay, the range is still, you could look at this coordinate and say, oh, the range or the domain is still this and this. So you could break down coordinates and make them look like this, or break down a graph and make them look like this and label them. But unless it's like a line, or I'll put a curve in this case, right? We can look at a quadratic function, right? All right, now that's, my drawing's bad, but hey, all right, stay with me. Okay, now look at this function right here. It has the arrows, has the curve here, so there's not just these coordinates, but there's all coordinates in between as well. So let's think of it this way. All the X values in that red function right there. Well, X value means it goes left and right, right? So if you look at it left and right, all these coordinates will keep going to the left, right? It'll keep going that way, and it'll keep going to the right. So really, you have all these coordinates to the left, all these coordinates to the right forever. So basically everything on the x-axis, there's 0 here, will get covered, right? All of these, all the negatives, all the positives will get covered in that particular red function, in that, we'll say, quadratic function. Now, that's why the domain in this particular case, in the red case, is all real numbers. Domain in this case is all real numbers. Okay? All real number. That's a number sign. Okay? All real numbers. Now, what about the range in this red thing right here? The range. Range deals with Y values. Now I look at this thing and I say, well, there exists a Y value up here. I'll put it in blue. That's the lowest Y value of that thing that you see, of that function that you see. Now I'll put it up here, right? And that lowest Y value, if I had to name that coordinate, I'll just make the coordinate up and say, okay, that's 0, 1. That's the coordinate right there. right? Now, that's the minimum value. And look, it keeps going up. All these, they keep going up. That's why the arrow's here. Keeps going up forever. So it starts at what y value? The y value is 1. It starts at 1, and it keeps on going. 2, 3, keeps on going up, up, and up. So the lowest y value is 1. The highest y value is infinity. Okay? So the range, if you were to talk about this red function, the range, the y value start at 2. Or no, I'm sorry, start at 1, right there. The y value start at 1 up until infinity. So sometimes we write it like this: 1 till positive infinity. Okay, and you put a bracket like this because it is not included, right? Infinity is not a discrete number you can count, but so therefore you write it like that. Now, so that's dealing with domain and dealing with range. So we can go through a few examples and maybe clarify or understand a little bit better. So I have a few examples on this worksheet here. Okay, so let's do this one right here. Okay, it says determine if the following relations are functions. That's a different lesson. Basically, if they're functions, every x value only can have one y value. That's the basics of it. Now, then state domain and range. So look at that right there. If you see this is your relationship. This is your relation. Okay, and we have to name the. We'll go straight to domain and range. Domain deals with what are my x values in this case. Well, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that you name 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There you go. Range. Well, you look at all the y values. 1, 2, 5, 10, 15. Math etiquette, you put them in order. 1, 2, 5, 10, and 15. And if they repeated, you wouldn't keep writing it. Okay? If there was like 3 threes, 3 comma this, 3 comma this, you just only write it once for the domain. And same with range. If there were a few 5s or a few 10s, whatever, you only write it once. You're just telling us what the domain and range consist of. Alright? Now, is it a function? Does every one of these x values have only one y value that's attached to it? Yeah, 1 has a y value attached to it. You don't see another 1 here for the x with a different one. Now, if I wrote 1 comma 7 and I put it up there, you would say, oh, 1 goes with 1 and 1 goes with 7. That's not right. Every x value has to have only one y value. Now this one, x value has 2, so it's not a function. Or if this was in here, it would not be a function, but it's not. So every x value up here does have exactly one y value, which, yes, it's a function. Okay? Let's see. Let's go to this one right here. Alright, relations expressed as a graph. So we're going to say, is it a relation, state the domain and range, and then is it a function? Well, domain and range, look at the domain. If we map these out, meaning wrote down the coordinates, this one would be what? -2, comma, -2. Okay, this is how you do domain and range for a graph. Okay, or you just think about all these coordinates and say, okay, here's all the x values of these coordinates, here's all the y values. However you like to do it, do it. -2, 2, and what's this one? -1, up 1, -1, comma 1. This one, 1, comma 1, and this one, 1, comma 0, and this one over 3, up 1, 2, 3, so 3, 3. You should have commas in between. And last one, this is 3, comma -2. And once again, you write down all, if you're doing domain and range, you write down the domain, write down the range. So, domain is all the x's. Here we go. So -2, -1, 1, and look at this. The x is repeated here. So 1 is the x, and another 1 is the x. So we only write it once. We're just stating what it is. 3 and another 3. So we only write it once. Okay? And then we do the range below. So in the range, I'll do a little blue here. So we got -2, or yeah, we got +2. 1, 1. So the range repeated, 1 and 1. So you only read it once. So let's do the range. 2 was first, and then a 1 was second. Another 1, don't write it. We got a 0, a 3, and a -2. So we got a 0, a 3, and a -2. Now mathematically we should put them in order. So -2, 0, 1, 2, 3. So that is my, with these brackets, that's my range. And then my domain in red, if I put them in order, -1, 1, no, -2, -1, no, it's already in order. 1 and 3, and then we like to put them in these little brackets. Here's your domain, there's your range. Is it a relation, or is the relation a function, I should say? And if we looked at it, okay, this is what we call the vertical line test. Last little thing, vertical line test. We draw a line straight down. Ooh, bad line. Draw a line straight down. It only goes through one time in there, so it's a function so far because the x's only have one y value attached to it. Look at these two x's. Same x, right? What is it? 1, 0 and 1, 1. This x value has two. This x value is attached to this one, is connected to, it's in relationship with that one y value. And this same x value, 1, is also in relationship with this y value of 0. This can't happen for it to be a function, and this is not a function. Okay? Now, let's move on to the last part, and here we go. I like to look at graphs and say, okay, here's my domain, here's my range. All right? That one's a little tricky. We're going to go to this one real quick here. This one's easier to see at first. Start small, go big. So this one right here, if we had some arrows here, absolute value function, it keeps on going left, it keeps on going right, and there's all these coordinates in between, which means all the x values are covered to the left and to the right. All the x's are covered. So the domain, which means all the x values, is all real numbers. Now, the range. Look at the y values. Look at all these coordinates, and look at the y values of these coordinates. If you had to name that right there, that's the lowest y value you're going to get in this particular function, right? So that's the lowest y value, which I'm going to name, what, 0, -5. So if you're just looking at y values, not the x's, just the y's, that one is -5, right? That one is, just even look at the y values. That one's -4, -3, so on and so on. And it keeps going up, up, and up, right? So, we could say all numbers greater than -5, right? We could put this notation. It starts at -5. Oh, I should have a closed thing here. It includes -5, goes all the way up to positive infinity, okay? Or all reals greater than or equal to -5. That's my range. Okay? So y is greater than or equal to -5. That's also a way to tell me what the range is. All my y values are greater or equal to -5. Okay? So that's domain and range for us in some graphs and otherwise. Okay? Let's do one more. All right? The x values actually in this one, notice it's like a line segment here. So the x's only go from here, right there, to right there. If you look, right? It ends right here and right here. So the only x's are from here to there. So think about that x value right here. Look at that coordinate, think about the x value. That's -8, something, right? -8, 8. And the other one is what? The x value is 2, -5. So the x's are only going from -8 to +2. So -8 is less than or equal to x less than or equal to +2. That is my domain. And the other one, range, think about the range. You're only going from up here, right, that coordinate, to down here. It stops there. Look up to look down. What's the highest x or y value? What's the lowest y value? The highest is 8, and the lowest is -5. So -5 is less than or equal to y, less than or equal to 8. That is your range. Thanks, and have a great day.